Hi friends, it's Kunal here, founder of Coursetake and author of the book Company and Position Specific Job Interview Prep. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome back to this training series, this free training series where we're talking about how do you ace your upcoming interview? We're really discussing how do you take this complicated process of interview prep, where there's tons of stuff that we've got to do, and really break it down into a step-by-step process to make sure that you go out there and absolutely come back a winner, come back with a job offer in your hand. That's exactly what the purpose of this training series is. All right, so we are in part 2. If you haven't, watched part 1, you should go ahead and do that and go and watch part 1 and figure out the big picture framework, which we call the interview mastery framework. Okay, so I'm just going to recap that for you as part of this video. The first step of the interview mastery framework was to figure out the interview process at the company that you're interviewing for. Step number 2 was all about studying the industry that this company that you're interviewing for operates within. Step number 3 was to study the company, and I'd said that in the future I'm going to give you a framework on how to study the industry as well as study the company. Once you study the industry and the company, step number 4 was about studying the job description, really understanding, going deep into the job description, what that job really entails, and making sure that you're a great fit for that particular position. Step number 5 is about studying the main question types that are typically asked. Questions that will, which are icebreakers, questions that will really help you really nail it and make sure that you're confident throughout the process. Step number 6 is all about practicing. One of the reasons people fail at interviews is because they're not confident. And the reason you're not confident is because you haven't practiced your answers. You've studied all that stuff before, so you got to make sure you practice. Step number 7 is about you interviewing your interviewers and making sure that you ask the right questions to your interviewers. And step number 8 is all about getting ready for interview day, making sure that you're ready for that final day, that you go in there and absolutely come out a winner. So those are the 8 steps, which we call the 8 core steps. But I also said that if you really want to accelerate your results and make sure that you get, come out with an offer, but a really good offer, then you've got to do 3 acceleration steps. And the 3 acceleration steps were getting motivated, getting organized, and staying consistent through the process. Now we're going to cover all these steps in great detail through the entire video series, but today I really want to focus on the first step of the 8 core steps, which is to study the interview process. Now my friends, it's extremely important that you study the interview process for the company that you're interviewing for the position that you're interviewing for in great detail. The reason is very simple. If you know what to expect going in, you can prepare better. If you don't know what to expect going in, it's going to be really hard for you to be able to convince the interviewer on the spot. The more preparation you can have up front, the better it's going to be. So the more you can prepare up front, the more it can really help you. And the first step to preparation is just to understand, hey, look, what could I expect here? If I go into that room, if I apply right now, or if a recruiter calls me back right now, what's happening next? What's the next step that I can expect to the process? Am I going to have a group interview? Am I going to have a phone screen? Am I going to have some sort of a, pre-screening test? What's the on-site interview look like? Am I going to have 2 interviewers in front of me? Am I going to have 1 interviewer in front of me? What do people typically wear? Just understanding the entire process of how things work one after the other is extremely important. So that's what you've got to focus on. That's what this step is about. Before jumping in, get a lay of the land. Understand how this entire process really works and get your mind ready to be able to execute on that process. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. And what I want to show you now is a few tips and tricks and some areas on how do you actually go about and find your interview process. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. So the first thing that you can do is, I'm going to jump into my computer right now to show you a few areas on how you can really focus on finding out the interview process. So here's what you see in front of me is LinkedIn. You've probably heard of LinkedIn. If you've not heard of LinkedIn, you're probably from Mars, right? So I hope you have heard of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is nothing but a social network for, business people from the corporate world, people from the industry as a whole. Okay, so if you go to LinkedIn, one great way to be able to just search for the interview process is to find people who are already working in that role, or people who have already been in that role in the past, and then maybe just reach out to them and tell them, hey, look, I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to really just chat with you and ask you a few questions about this process. Look, I'm interviewing for, this company, and you're in this position, you've been there before, or you're there right now. I'd love to get your perspective on what would it take to really help me, ace this upcoming interview. Okay, so you want to be able to just reach out to people from LinkedIn and really get a perspective. Now, if you already know people there, great. Okay, that's even better because then you can just reach out to them if you already have connections. If you don't have connections, then go and make connections there. So that's what we're going to do. So let's take an example. So say I'm interviewing for the position of a sales consultant at AT&T. All right, so you can just search for sales consultant at AT&T, and then you can go to this people tab here, and then you can get a bunch of people who are in that role. So you can already see all these people. Now, I don't have anyone that I'm connected to, as you can see, because if I was connected to, this would show up as one of my connections. Now, let me go and connect with them, right? So I can, go to this person who's kind of open to connecting. I live in the greater Seattle area, so Jer Knoll seems like he is open to connecting. He's currently a retail sales consultant at AT&T. So you can connect. You can add a note to your connection and say, hey, Joel. Hey Jer, sorry, not Joel. I hope this message finds you well. I have a interview coming up for the position of sales consultant at AT&T, and was wondering if you could spend some time in helping me prepare, or whatever else you want to write. Sincerely, Kunal. So a quick note like this, or whatever makes sense for you, this is a note that I would send, but something that makes sense to you, connect with Jer, go ahead and then send him an invitation. If he accepts, great. Do that for about 10-15 people and you're good to go. Okay, so that's the process. That's the first process. And then schedule some time with him. Try to get on a call with him. If he's not available through call, maybe just go back and forth on email, but make those connections online and use that as an approach to be able to go ahead and find out a lot more about the interview process, about how AT&T operates, etc. So the next service that you can use is my company's service, which is Coursetake, right? At Coursetake, our mission is to help, students and professionals help prepare for their upcoming interviews. And so if you go to, interview guides and courses, you can see a bunch of different companies at Coursetake that, we've already prepared for you the entire interview preparation package. So at Coursetake, we already have a complete interview preparation package that's ready for you. So which includes the interview process, the company, it includes the industry, it includes the job description, the top 20 questions and answers that you're going to be asked, the answers to those questions, etc. The entire package is prepared for you so that you can go in there, read our material and go ahead and ace your interview. So if you go to AT&T, we have a sales consultant interview preparation material, and then you can purchase this if you'd like. Now again, this is paid material, so if this is not something for you, that's completely fine. But for people who want a little more curated approach to be able towards their entire interview prep, here's an example of where you can use more information to go ahead and ace your interview process. So you don't have to do the research yourself. You don't have to go reach out to people on LinkedIn. All that research is already done for you. Okay, so that's the second technique to be able to go ahead and find some of the information about the company, information about the interview process. The third is a company known as Glassdoor. So you probably heard about Glassdoor, which is not really meant only for interviews, but it's about companies in general. You can search for jobs, you can look at reviews of companies, salaries, and they have an interviews tab as well. So in this case, if I search for AT&T here, I can, there's an AT&T's interviews, and I can go there, and then I can just read people's experiences about their, the interviews that they had at AT&T. So in this case, it's the retail sales consultant that we're interviewing for. So, what you can do is you can start reading their interview experiences, and then from that, be able to conclude what the entire interview process is all about. So you can get a sense of what that process is all about. So if you use Coursetake, we've already done that research for you, and we've already made sure that it's crystal clear what that process is all about. But you can obviously do that research yourself as well. So you can just read through this entire interview process. So for example, this person says, so far I have only completed the video interview. It was easy to set up and there weren't any issues using the required app from my phone. Fortunately, it wasn't a live video interview, so I was able to redo my answer if I messed up. So which this you should clearly clearly conclude that with AT&T, what they do is after they interview you, after you apply, you get a screening sort of interview where which is a video interview, and it's an automatic interview. It's not conducted by a certain person, and you have to record yourself on a particular video conference call. Now see, this is not typical, right? So you wouldn't expect to go and have a video conferencing sort of interview with a robot on the other side if you weren't really reading all these reviews. So you got to make sure that you're crystal clear. So when that interview time, when that interview does start, the entire interview process does start, you're crystal clear on what that process is, how do you prepare, what do you need to do. So either you can use, again, you can talk to people, you can use our preparation material, you can read on Glassdoor, and make sure that you have crystal clear on how this entire process works. The other way to do it is similar to Glassdoor. You can just go to other job sites, like Indeed, for example, and you can just read people's experiences there. So you don't have to only listen to Glassdoor. You can also go to Indeed, or you can just do a basic Google search. So if you go to Google, and then within Google, if you say AT&T consultant, sales consultant interview, right? So again, we already saw the Glassdoor link that came up. Everything is mostly Glassdoor up front, but then there's the Indeed link as well. But there are a bunch of other, yours from the AT&T site itself. So you can go to the AT&T career site and then take a look at there. You can see, hey, what do I wear? Here's a bunch of there's information provided from AT&T as well, so you can get a sense of what that process really looks like. Here's again the AT&T course that we have at Udemy as well from Coursetake, so you can take a look at that too. All right, so that's it, my friends. That's all I wanted to share with you. The big meta point of this video is really simple. Look, you've got to figure out what that process looks like before you go in and expect to go and come out a winner. You can't come out a winner if you don't prepare well. So you've got to prepare well, you've got to prepare hard, you've got to make sure that you're ready to go. And so that's exactly what this video is all about. And hopefully you've learned some of the tools and techniques, some of the websites that you can use to be able to go and do your own research, or use some of the paid services out there to make sure that you understand the process really well, so that when you come out, you are an absolute winner. All right, my friends, take care. Best of luck. I wish you all the best for whatever interview you have going on. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to help you ace your upcoming interview. Best of luck. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow, where we're going to talk more about part 3, where we're now going to understand how do you study the industry, and I'm going to give you a framework on what it means to study the industry in great deal. We're going to look at step 2 of our entire process. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye.